Come on now, fellas. We've got to answer the bell. Now let's go.
I think we're on.
Do you?
I'm looking at us.
Well, I'm
here.
glad you can see it.
Yeah, I'm
we
looking at us here, but for some reason on our monitor, we're only seeing the title cards
because we're frozen on the monitor. So,
okay.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening, but we are here. I was asking Justin to see if he could let me know.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a!
Anyway, you want to do the honors?
The Mondayest Wednesday ever. It's Wild and Wacky Wednesday, and
it wasted no time getting started. Yeah, absolutely.
Go. Oh man, thanks for joining us here on Main Street Sports today. I'm Chris Yow. He's Mo Patton, and we are coming to you live from the Lee Company studio here in Columbia, Tennessee. Hey, there we are.
Hey,
look at there.
Nice.
Look at there.
Hey.
Oh man.
So if you were wondering, that explains the long intro there, because we can typically see when Justin throws it to us, and we couldn't. So
we could not today. Such is life. Such is life. No panic. We're good to go. We're good to go. And we are glad again to be with you here on this Wednesday as we are coming to you from the Lee Company studio on Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm sorry. What's the name of the show?
Main Street Sports Today, presented by
That's
Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint.
Thank you.
Coming to you from the Lee Company studio.
I think
gets a little wordy.
It does.
But
it does.
But it pays the bills.
That's the most important thing. All right, here we go. We have a great show lined up for you today. We get our visit with two of our regular guests today, as Heather Williams is set to join us. She'll get to us at 2:20, and of course, Chip Walters will come to us live from Frisco, Texas, where he'll be visiting with the CUSA Curtain.
Right.
And having a good time with the Curtain, I'm sure. From the men's, I guess in the women's basketball tournament's there too, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. They're both there
on opposite sides of the curtain, I assume. I don't know.
We'll ask.
We will. But yes, the men's and women's basketball tournament for Conference USA is held in Frisco this week, so looking forward to that. And
we can also talk to Chip about some postseason basketball awards that were announced earlier this week, and a couple that were announced that went to some interesting folks.
Say that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. We'll get to all that and much, much more. But before we do anything else, we need to get to yesterday's results and a couple from today and tomorrow's schedule, as well as today's schedule. All coming to you now on The Rundown.
This is The Rundown.
And I'm glad we were able to get to the rundown without any prompting today.
We found that we got there without.
Yeah, without being pushed, nudged. Yeah. Scores from the TSSAA Girls High School Basketball State Tournament from yesterday. Livingston Academy defeated Greenville 63-60, overcoming a 10-point deficit for that win. South Gibson 46, Dyer County 29. Elizabethton defeated Dyersburg 66-54, and Jackson Southside down Upperman, defending state champ, Upperman 44-31.
No longer defending.
No longer 2022 state champion. That was in 3A action. In 4A yesterday, Bartlett defeated Sevier County 57-37, and Green Hill down Clarksville 55-45. 4A action earlier today, Bradley Central defeated Bearden 55-53, and in another 2-point game, Cookeville down Blackman 53-51. In 1A action right now, as we speak, Hampton and Pickett County look like they're going off the floor at halftime. Hampton leading 36-28.
Baseball action yesterday. Vanderbilt 12, Tennessee Tech 1. Boston College in extra innings down to Tennessee 7-6. Western Kentucky 10 runs Belmont 11-1. Is Georgia Tech 10, Lipscomb 5, and Austin Peay goes up to Southern Indiana, gets a win 10-6. In softball action, Austin Peay shuts out visiting Providence 8-0, and the Lakers down the Grizzlies in Pau Gasol's jersey retirement ceremony 112-103.
Today's schedule, again, in girls high school basketball action, the state tournament over at MTSU's Murphy Center. Again, Hampton leads Pickett County 36-28 at the half. That game will be followed by Dresden and top-ranked and undefeated Wayne County. That game tips at 2:45. Van Buren and North Green at 4:30, and Peabody and McKenzie finish out the slate at 6 o'clock today. Tomorrow in Class 2A action, it'll be Gibson County and Riverside at 10, McMinn Central and Gatlinburg Pittman at 11:30, and Community, the Vi-Queens, taking on Scotts Hill at 1:15. Let's see. In A-Sun men's basketball action, semifinals, Lipscomb is at Liberty. That's a 6 o'clock tip on ESPN Plus. And Austin Peay at Florida Gulf Coast. Is that the men as well?
Mm-hmm. Florida Gulf Coast, the number 1 seed in that tournament.
That's interesting, considering Austin Peay just deposed of their coach earlier this week.
Yeah.
Nate James is no longer. We never talked about that. We need to. But anyway, that game is at 6 o'clock also at Gulf Coast, and it can be seen on ESPN Plus. In SEC opening round action later this evening at Bridgestone, Ole Miss and South Carolina play at 6, followed by LSU and Georgia around 8 o'clock. Both those games can be seen on the SEC network.
All right. Baseball action right now. UT Southern is in a doubleheader at Oakwood and Huntsville, and Evansville will be at Vanderbilt this afternoon at 4:30, and you can see it on the SEC Network Plus. Softball action, Cumberland fell to Tennessee Wesleyan 5-0 in the first of a doubleheader. The second one coming up here in just a few moments. Tennessee Tech is at Tennessee softball today. I don't know what time it's supposed to be. The D1softball.com said it was in the top of the first inning for the last 6 hours. So I don't know if
eventually it's going to be the top of the first, I guess.
I don't know if what happened was if it was set for like 6 p.m. and they accidentally hit 6 a.m., which does happen.
Oh, absolutely.
So I don't know what time the game is supposed to be. I apologize.
It is a 6 o'clock start.
Look at there.
Which is 5 o'clock our time.
There you go. So it'll be a 5 p.m. first pitch, Tennessee Tech at Tennessee. And in junior college play, Vol State hosting Lakeland College in a doubleheader starting now. And that is your rundown. All right. Yeah, we did not talk about Austin P not having a men's basketball coach.
Yeah, that's what kind of threw me about that. I didn't realize that they were still playing.
Yeah, Nate James out
after 2 years.
Yes, and they were 9-22 this season.
That'd be pretty interesting if they suddenly get on some kind of run here.
I can't imagine that it would be, but that they would obviously. You know what? Now that I'm looking at it, this may be women's. I'm not sure.
It doesn't look to be men because their last game was
the 24th.
Yeah.
ESPN has it on their scores, but it doesn't differentiate men's and women.
Yeah, this is women. The women play at Gulf Coast in the semifinals at 6.
Now, is Lipscomb also men or women?
That I can't tell.
It is also women.
Oh,
okay. So both of those are women's games.
Yeah, because I think Lipscomb's men lost
to
last week to
Kennesaw.
Yeah, the men's is over. Yeah, Kennesaw.
So this is where I got confused. Most women's tournaments were last week, men's are this week, but they flipped it. That's where I got confused. Okay. Now that we're back on that track, Nate James, 2 years and it's a little, and I don't know what led to it. Maybe there's probably a story on Main Street, Clarksville, if I had to guess. But former Duke player and
former Duke assistant, I believe.
I think he was an assistant under Coach K, and just not. Austin P is a place where they expect to be really good at basketball.
Yeah. Well, I mean, given their history, I think
they should be.
Right. I don't think that's an unreasonable expectation. They have not made the NCAA tournament since 2016, when they went 7-9 in the Ohio Valley Conference, but won 4 games in 4 days to win the tournament. Lost in the opening round to Kansas, but Dave Luce was the coach then. They followed him with Matt Figger, who spent 4 seasons there, and Nate James replaced him. So,
yeah, and it's interesting because he inherited a group from Matt Figger that only 2 players remained on the team last year, won 12 games. And then they moved to the ASUN, where they regressed and won just 9 games. Now, I have a hard time with this. I feel like, I guess in the age of transfer portal, you expect to be better quicker.
But I don't know.
But the ASUN to me is a more difficult basketball league. I mean, not obviously with Murray and Belmont notwithstanding, but from top to bottom, the ASUN seems to be a little bit tougher in basketball. So I don't know that was but maybe with the, I think, they're trying to move up to D1 and in football. So they'll probably have to make another conference move unless the ASUN follows suit.
I just think there's a lot going on athletically at Austin P right now. Like you said, the change to the new conference, they had some issues at the end of the year. They had that fight late. They're going into a new arena next year. Maybe they just feel like they need to try to create some momentum that a 9-win season doesn't necessarily give them going into that new facility. I don't know. It's an interesting move.
It's a thought process for sure.
Yeah. So.
But you better have an idea of where you're going to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've said that 100 times.
Well, and to that end, the name Corey Gibson, GIP, SON, may be one that's in play. Former Austin P player who has Northwestern State in the hunt for an NCAA berth this year. In his first season, they are 21-10 and 13-5 in the Southland, number 2 team down there in this week's tournament.
They'll be playing Corpus Christi in the Southland tournament today on ESPN2. I guess that's for the championship.
Okay.
That's at 4:00 if you care to watch.
Maybe getting a look at Austin Peay's next coach. Who knows?
So, there you go. Our top story today that we kind of, I guess that was sort of a top story, but the World Baseball Classic, Mo, first pitch today, but the U.S. will not start until Saturday.
Actually, there was a game late last night, I think. I think Cuba and the Netherlands played.
Well, I guess technically.
They've got like, what, 4 pools, I think?
Yes. Yes, they have 4 pools. Yeah, it started at 10:00 last night, but I guess where are they holding it?
That's it. They've got like 4 different locations.
Okay, so that game was probably somewhere across the pond.
Yeah, it was in Taichung.
Okay, and I know
there are 4
Panama
5-team
and Taipei
pools.
played.
Yeah. Let's see. Panama and Taipei played, and Panama won that one. The Netherlands and Cuba played, and the Netherlands won that one. So, host cities for the 23 Classic. Come on. Taichung of the Chinese Taipei, Tokyo, Phoenix, and Miami are your pool sites.
And right now, the Dominican is trashing the Braves 8-0.
Understandably, but
as we have our DH leading off through the Braves, Forrest Wall, hitting.
Well, you see some funny lineups in spring training.
There's no
just
kidding.
Trying to get some folks some ABs.
Hey, man, he's 2 for 3.
There you go.
I'll take that.
Pool A, as we mentioned, has the Netherlands, Panama, Chinese Taipei, Cuba, and Italy. Pool B, which is again being played in Tokyo, has Australia, China, the Czech Republic, Japan, and Korea. Pool C in Phoenix has Canada, Colombia, Great Britain, Mexico, and the U.S. And Pool D in Miami has the Dominican Republic, Israel, Nicaragua, Puerto Rico, and Venezuela. And let's see. I don't see a comprehensive schedule necessarily, but like I said, Pool A got going yesterday with the Netherlands beating Cuba and Panama beating Chinese Taipei. And like you said, the U.S. plays Saturday, I guess.
That's right. Adam Wainwright on the bump for the Americans.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's an 8:00 first pitch Central Time on Fox. And we'll be taking on Great Britain, so the Redcoats will come to North America for another butt whooping.
It's always interesting to see who's on some of these international teams, because you'll find a lot of guys that it's like, he's from there.
Well, Donovan Benoit, a pitcher for Great Britain, is also with the Reds, was born in the United States. A lot of the Great Britain players were born in the United States. So I don't know exactly how you get to choose, which team you play for.
I would imagine some of it has something to do with which team you're most likely to make. I can tell you, Xander Wheel, former Blackman, former Vanderbilt standout, is on the Netherlands roster.
Okay. See, that's just wild.
Well, but his dad is from Curacao,
and I assume
which is a Netherlands territory, I guess.
That makes sense. Yeah, so, I mean, a lot of these guys from the Bahamas, one guy from Canada, Virgin Islands, the U.S. Virgin Islands, but playing for Great Britain. Who knows, man? The World Baseball Classic is weird, but it's also fun.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy watching it. One, because it's competitive baseball that people actually are trying to win at this time of year.
Right.
Which is not a little less than you can say for spring training, because
with Forrest Wall leading off.
With Forrest Wall leading off. That's right. So, AJ Minter did get some work. He gave up a hit, but struck out 3. So that's always good. Raciel Iglesias, though, doing his best Will Smith impression, walking 2, striking out 2, and giving up no hits.
There you go.
So whatever.
Got to practice making it interesting.
I guess so. All right.
The Canadian team features one Freddie Freeman.
Well, of course. Did you see that, by the way?
What's that?
The picture that he posted from the Dodgers locker room in his Canadian gear.
And all that red?
Yeah. I
saw the picture, but I did not. I saw it, but I didn't look at it, if that makes any sense.
Well, the poor guy, he looks bad. He's just so skinny on that West Coast diet.
There's no Waffle Houses out there.
No Waffle Houses. Need to do something about that. Anyway, let's take a break because Heather Williams is standing by, and we'll talk a little NASCAR on the other side of it. So stick around here on Main Street Sports Day, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. Be back after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Welcome back to Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Chris Yow, and a score that will be of interest to our next guest. Pickett County has come back and made it a 42-41 game against Hampton in the quarterfinals of the Class 1A state girls basketball tournament. Hampton's up by 1 and getting ready to shoot a couple of free throws. Heather Williams with WCYB out of the Tri-Cities now joining us to talk a little NASCAR. But Heather, have you had a chance to see these Hampton girls?
Yeah, I've covered their games several times this year. They have only 2 losses on the season, so they've pretty much dominated the competition in this part of the state. One of their losses was to a Class 3 school, and the other was to their rivals from Cloudland. So they've been pretty dominant around here. Definitely the class of Class 1 in this part of the state. Fun to watch team for sure.
Well, I tell you, they were pretty dominant in this game. What was it, 24-12, Chris, after one period?
Yeah, they doubled them up in the first quarter.
Yeah, and so now Pickett County has come back again. made it a 1-point game, 44-43. Hampton with about 3 minutes to play in the third quarter. So get you up to date there. Little bonus coverage. Oh, absolutely. We're here to help.
Heather, we're talk a little, and Pickett County just took the lead. We'll talk a little NASCAR today because pretty interesting race out in Las Vegas with William Byron getting the win. Not exactly sure I expected that. But, Vegas, there's always kind of something weird happens out there. It seems like every year, and this was no different. Just another really good race, and congrats to William Byron for the win.
Well, it's definitely a Hendrick kind of day, right? The top 300 cars dominated the day, so you felt like one of them was probably going to win. Watching the race pretty early, and William qualified well. He seemed to be the top running car of that group. He usually has a lot of early season success. The trouble that Williams run into is sustaining that over a season and being able to advance deep into the playoffs. He clinched I think he won back-to-back races early last year, I think Atlanta and then Martinsville, and clinched, and then he didn't win again, I don't think, last year. So, that's going to be the thing for him in this team, and I talked to him about it earlier in the season. They've got to find sustained success over the summer to make that push towards the playoffs.
Yeah, we kind of talked about William a lot during that playoff run last year, where he was on the edge, it seemed like, every week, and was able to, because nobody was winning races, he was able to kind of inch his way forward each week, but obviously eventually getting put out. But
he rode on the success because playoff drivers weren't winning races. He used the bonus points and the wins that he got from having 2 wins in the regular season and just kind of rode that through the first round. And so once playoff drivers started finding wins and finding their groove, he quickly was eliminated.
Yeah, but that took longer than it normally does for playoff drivers to win last year. So
it did. It took 5 races before one finally won.
You get your points where you can when you can. But yeah, you're right. Kyle Larson had a great day as well. Not so great for Kyle Busch, but he did get a Truck Series win, so there's that.
There is that, and I think they're still performing at a pretty decent level.
Yeah,
it's a new team. They're going to have bumps. They're going to have bruises. I don't think that a lot of fans are sad when those bumps and bruises come along, just because of who Kyle is. But they're fine, I feel like.
Well, I'm reading this story, and look, I don't know this particular place. I don't know this outlet. It's just some guy's blog, I'm sure. But quoting Richard Childress, if Kyle could be better in regards to his relationship with his teammates, have you heard that that's an issue?
This year, I haven't heard that that's an issue this year. I think has been an issue at Joe Gibbs Racing. I think that's part of the reason why they kind of drifted apart, but I hadn't heard that this year. It's so early. I haven't been at the track since Daytona. I haven't had a chance to talk to Kyle yet this year on a one-on-one basis or to Austin, his teammate. So I hadn't heard that this year, but I know it's been an issue previously at Joe Gibbs Racing.
Okay. Well, and maybe that's what the quote was in reference to. It was just that the story was posted 2 days ago. So I was very curious if that was, if that was something that was being talked about, because I thought that doesn't sound right. It seems a little too early in this relationship to be already mad at each other, but I figured I would ask anyway.
Some people, it don't take long,
There you go.
Fair.
I thought I would just ask because I thought that was interesting. Well, that being said, thought it wasn't, a race that we expect, the kind of race that we expect at Las Vegas every time. And typically it doesn't disappoint. It was just good racing.
Yeah, that's a great track. I mean, the media intermediate tracks have been really good with the next gen cars. So, you know, I expected. I think I said last week I expected the racing to be pretty good at Vegas, and it was.
Now, the off the track stuff has kind of dominated the headlines this week, particularly Chase Elliott. Injured in a snowboarding accident, and I guess he's going to be replaced by Jordan Taylor.
Well, Jordan's going to replace him at the road course at COTA.
Okay.
Josh Berry's going to do all the oval courses, and Josh
Gotcha.
is the driver for Junior Motorsports in the Xfinity Series. He's a Tennessee native. So he's going to be getting his opportunity to drive. He's a driver that Dale Jr. actually discovered on iRacing, and he was iRacing against him, and then offered him a job driving his late model car. And then when the opportunity came for him, I guess it's been 2 years now, they had scheduled to put Sam Mayer in the one car. And Sam wasn't going to be old enough to drive until 6 weeks into the season, so they let Josh drive the car for the first 6 weeks, and Josh did a really good job. So at the end of the year, when who was it? Somebody from Junior Motorsports got injured, and they put Josh in the car. And then last year he was in the car full time and advanced to the championship 4. So he's definitely an up and coming talent. It'll be good to see how he does in the Cup Series. You know, dipping his toe into that water. As far as Chase goes, you know, it's caused a lot of conversation in the garage area about should drivers be doing extracurricular activities like this that are potentially dangerous off the track. Chase, by all accounts, is an experienced snowboarder, has been snowboarding since he was like 8 years old, knew what he was doing. Drivers that I talked to said that they didn't believe that he was out doing anything like, you know, jumps or flips or anything super dangerous. It was just an accident that could happen. You know, he could have fallen down the front porch stairs and broken his leg as well. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's caused a lot of interesting conversation. Most of the owners have said that this won't change their opinion on what drivers can and can't do off the track.
Well, and, you know, it's funny because there were some people who were kind of, you know, when the issue of the waiver came up, you know, a lot of folks said, well, you shouldn't get a waiver if you're out doing something dangerous. Well, I mean, technically you could say driving your own personal car on any road is dangerous. I mean, it's just as dangerous as a snowboarding accident. You know, I just feel like there's, you know, maybe there's a line, and maybe that is a line that you can't cross. But to me, it just feels like, you know, I don't know. I don't know that he should or shouldn't get a waiver. I don't have an opinion on that one way or the other, but I just feel like if you're, you know, you can't sit there and say, well, you can't get a waiver if you're out snowboarding, because that's not any more or less dangerous to me than just driving on the road. So I don't know.
Well, and NASCAR's smart, right? They're going to,
sure,
they're going to give a waiver to the sport's most popular driver. They want him in the playoffs.
The 5-time has it been 5 times that he's won the most popular driver?
Every year he's been the Cup Series.
Yeah.
So however many years that is, he's been the most popular driver. Someone named Earnhardt or Elliott has one most popular driver each of like the last 30 years or something like that, except for 1 year when Kulwicki won it. But yeah.
Well, we all loved Alan Kulwicki, so there's that.
Yeah, they're going to put him in the playoffs if they can.
Sure.
If it exists, because I mean, you want your most popular driver in the playoffs.
Now, I don't think there's any argument to that from most people. I mean, and he's a guy who's been in the playoff every year, so it's not like, you know, you're taking a guy who is fringe and may or may not get in. You know, it's
well, he
really
still has to race his way in. He
sure
won't be able to point his way in. He'll have to win a race when he comes back from his injury. Will
Sure.
he be able to do that? We'll see. But if he does, they'll give him a waiver. And all this talk about waiver is so premature because he's got to A, get back to the car first, and then B, win a race before it's even an issue.
And be ready. Yeah. I mean, and out for, not driving for 6 weeks and obviously a broken leg it's not easy to just come back from and drive a race car.
Right.
Especially in the Cup Series.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess it depends on which leg it is. And you know what? I'm not sure which one it is.
I thought I saw that yesterday, but I don't
You know
remember
what? Off the top of my head, I didn't look, so I don't know. But anyway, well, tell us about this weekend. We go to Phoenix, another interest. It's the race the track where they end the season now, and it just seems like it's again should be good racing.
Yeah, this will be the first test of the new aero package on the short tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to Chase Briscoe pretty in depth about this yesterday because I wanted to pick his brain because I didn't really understand what the differences are going to be. And he said, you're not going to see a difference, obviously, in the cars or the way they look, but the change to the aerodynamics is definitely going to change the way that the cars race. And so hopefully that'll promote more passing, which was the big complaint on the short tracks last year is that the cars were so equal and so good aerodynamically that it made it pretty much impossible to pass anyone on the shorter tracks without moving them out of the way. So that's one of the things that's going to be interesting to watch this week at Phoenix is, does the aerodynamic change have the intended consequences for this car, and does it promote more passing?
Well, guess we'll find out. Look, I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be fun because again, NASCAR is tweaking things to make it more exciting and more fun, and I think this is going to. I mean, not that last year wasn't.
Car is obviously a work in progress, right?
Sure.
I mean, last year was the first year it improved the racing exponentially on the intermediate and medium-sized tracks. The racing on the road courses were pretty good, but the racing on the short tracks were bad. Martinsville last year in the spring was one of the worst races I've ever watched. It was so boring. So not Martinsville. And, NASCAR was smart enough to see that and recognize it and start working on a plan. And we'll see if this improves. We've got Phoenix this week. We've got Martinsville coming up in April. So we'll see how it goes.
Yes, we will. In fact, and so since we're going to see how it goes, why don't you tell us how it's going to go? Because I.
Well, I mean,
it's much more fun if you just tell us. Have you not read the script?
Let me just tell you something. If I knew the answers too, I would have way more money in my pocket than I do right now. Chase Briscoe won this race a year ago, and then obviously Joey Logano won in the fall and won the championship. Actually, he didn't win the race, right? He just won the championship. Now I'm thinking about this. I don't know.
That's true.
Joey did not win the race.
Joey did not win the race. I think he finished second, didn't he?
Yeah, it's the first time that happened, that the winner was not the champion. But so those, obviously the Fords are good at Phoenix, was kind of the point that I was getting at with that. So definitely I would keep your eye on the Fords. But when I talked to Chase yesterday, Briscoe, he said it's not a race where we just go with a ton of confidence, because everything we did last year is probably not going to work this year. So he said some team's going to hit on this, and then everybody else is probably going to be playing catch up. Well, when that happens, that's usually one of two teams that get that done, either a Gibbs team or a Hendrick team. Denny Hamlin is very good at Phoenix. Unknown short track that he's good at. I think I'll go with Hamlin.
There you go. About as many people are going to like that pick.
Yes.
There is. Yeah, you just have to apologize for that one. Listen, it is what it is. If there was a most hated driver, I think Denny would would top that list now that Kyle is with Childress?
He's definitely up there. I will say that when I was at Daytona, which is the only race I've been at this year, the top boos were, I mean, Kyle was still up there. Denny was up there. Joey Logano was up there. And then, of course, your man Bubba Wallace was up there. So those were probably the top.
Top 5 finish this weekend for Bubba.
Yes.
Good for him.
Really good run for him. He's got those intermediate tracks down. I mean, he in 2311 have been running really well and really consistently on those kind of tracks. So not surprised at all to see it.
And that's fantastic considering, he was already a pretty good super speedway driver. I mean, I think he's one of the top 5 super speedway drivers in the Cup.
Well, it helps when probably the best one is as an owner, right? I mean,
right. So
don't like Denny, don't want to admit it, but he's probably the best super speedway driver in the garage right now, especially at Daytona. So that helps.
And then you add in the intermediates. I mean, for long, get him good on short tracks, and he's he's gonna be tough to handle.
Yeah, and when I talked to Bubba at Daytona, he said that the win last year at Kansas was actually bigger for him and for his career than his first win at Talladega, because he had kind of gotten pigeonholed, kind of like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is, on a guy that can only run at the super speedways, and for him to go out to an intermediate track and not only win but dominate that race, for him was important just to prove that he's not a one-dimensional race car driver.
Well, and it wasn't rain shortened, which was the big knock on top of everything else at Dega.
When he won that race at Kansas, I posted the gif of the dancing bee girl from Blind Melon.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I get it. Like, he felt like he had something to prove. He went out and proved it, and I think he's continued to prove it. So,
he could have done that a couple of times during the year. That was the thing that was so frustrating to him. He probably should have won at Nashville. He probably should have run. There was another race in there that he was running up front that he kind of let slip away. So
Daytona. I thought he won the darn thing.
Yeah. So I was standing there and I thought he won, but I was not at the right angle. I mean, when you see it, Cindric's clearly won, but it was bang bang, and so that was really important to him and to 2311 without Kurt. Bubba, Tyler's still trying to figure things out, moving over to a new team, and so Bubba's got to be the leader. He's got to be the guy right now until Tyler gets up to speed.
Yeah. Well, we're looking forward to Phoenix. Should be a great race as always. And Heather, we're looking forward to talking with you again. Maybe we'll see you this week or next. Who knows? But
probably not coming to Murfreesboro, sadly. But
it's unfortunate because Hampton is up 65-58 on Pickett County with 3 minutes to play.
Yeah, and the Elizabethan girls won yesterday, so they're also still alive in the tournament. But just don't have the staffing to be able to go all the way out there.
Yeah, it's understandable. We understand that completely.
Absolutely.
If there's anything we understand, it's that right there. But we appreciate it, and we'll talk with you again soon.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Heather.
All right, we'll take a break when we.
Before we do.
Okay.
It was Chase Elliott's left leg, I cannot tell you how many articles I had to go to.
It was a bunch
before I found that finally in a article from The Athletic.
Wow. See,
it's crazy. What
you feel
got
like
two of them?
You feel like that's important information, though,
particularly in racing. Yeah,
I need to know which leg it was. It's the clutch leg. That's important. That's a lot of,
Well, I guess the gas leg is important too, though. But yeah.
Well, I feel like maybe the gas leg is a little. There's probably not as much movement.
Stress, yeah. You pretty much just kind of put it down and leave it there, don't you?
Well, unless you're at a short track. That's the issue.
But it is the left leg.
No, there we go. Now we know.
All
right, we'll come back to the Lee Company studio on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint, and talk a little SEC tournament action and more right after this.
Jones and Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones and Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
And we're back. Maurice Patton, Chris Yow here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint, coming to you from the Lee Company studios here in Columbia. And Chris.
Yes.
Let's talk a little SEC men's basketball.
Let's do that. We should also mention that if you see in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a QR code. If you are in need of any services that Lee Company provides, garage doors, because our friend of the show, Ashley Gillis, Braden, her husband, is their garage door guy here in Maury County.
Oh, okay. So if you've got garage door issues, we know a guy.
We do know a guy, in fact. So garage doors, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, all of that. Scan that QR code. Help us and support the show by doing that. Even if you don't get any services, it's at least helping
the QR
us.
code anyway.
Scan the QR code. Please do that. All right. SEC basketball tournament tips off tonight, 6:00. Is it LSU and Georgia? LSU and Georgia is at 8:00. So Ole Miss, South Carolina,
correct,
at 6:00 tonight, and the winner of that takes on Tennessee tomorrow at 2:00.
Right.
First off, let's just do this.
Okay.
Who's going to win tonight?
We said it's Ole Miss, South Carolina.
Ole Miss, South Carolina. Now, Ole Miss doesn't have a head coach.
Well, they've got a head coach. It's just an interim. Mm-hmm.
They may have a full-time head coach here
pretty soon.
And that's a whole nother can of worms. But
I mean, if they win a couple of games, Chris Beard may be in Nashville. I don't know.
Hey, man, can you just come on?
Come on. We can start that contract now. Yeah. Yeah, all indications are that's going to be the move. And again, as we said it on here a couple of weeks ago, somebody's going to hire him.
Might as well be you.
Yeah. But I kind of like South Carolina in this ball game.
They've been playing a little bit better recently. Mm-hmm. I think South Carolina would be my pick too. I feel like they've certainly played well against Alabama. They played fairly well against Tennessee for a minute.
Whatever that means.
But yeah, I think South Carolina wins this game. Now, LSU Georgia is a little bit more of a toss-up for me. You think LSU?
Georgia has been consistent, even if it's consistently bad. LSU has been roller coaster-ish. Jumped up and beat a pretty good Vanderbilt team. The only Vanderbilt loss in their last, 8?
9.
9?
They've won 8 of 9.
And the one loss is to the 14 seed.
That's brutal.
That is rough. And it's going to be even rougher the closer they get to the bubble.
Well, here's the thing: if Vanderbilt gets the winner of this game, you kind of hope it's LSU, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to get that win on a neutral court to say, "Hey, see, we weren't."
See
We're
what
better than
happens. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we lost to them at their place, but we corrected that.
Sure, you need it to be LSU. At least you feel like Vanderbilt, and as the 6th seed, not getting the love that they probably deserve from bracketologists. But I will say this: that the bracketologist that I follow, his name is Dom. I don't know anything about him. I just know that he puts out a bracket almost every day. And so that's why I follow him.
Which means he has no life.
It's every day. And
is that his full-time job?
He's the guy that has the number. He was the number 2 bracketologist last year. He got 67 out of 68.
Oh, wow.
In the Matrix. So he's pretty good.
Not a bad guy to follow.
Had Vanderbilt in the next 4 out, which, a couple of wins. Here's the thing. The question.
A lot can change over a short period of time.
Or it cannot.
Week.
We saw it last year with Texas A&M. A&M gets all the way to the championship game, loses to Tennessee, and they still don't get in.
And I guess just not enough happened around A&M for that run that they went on to mean anything. But, again, with the way Vanderbilt has closed this season, if they pick up another couple of wins here at Bridgestone,
especially over LSU, Kentucky,
yeah,
those would be the 2 teams you play.
Mm-hmm.
Either LSU, if it's LSU or Georgia, it doesn't matter. Win the first round, then you play Kentucky. You beat Kentucky. At that point, I feel like you've beaten Kentucky 2 out of 3 times this year.
And this Vanderbilt team in the tournament semifinals, after their start, how you're playing at the end of the year has got to mean something, doesn't it?
Apparently not.
I don't get it.
That's the thing. And so does the SEC tournament matter? That's the big question for me.
Well, I think we found ourselves asking that question last year as well.
Right. And it didn't.
Didn't A&M.
The only way it matters is if you win it.
Well, if you win it and you're not supposed to, or if you lose it and you're not supposed to. I think it only matters on a negative.
Yeah, and I think that's a problem.
Well, I
mean, it doesn't matter if you win.
If you can't improve yourself by playing it, then why play it?
And certainly if you can't improve, then how can you get worse? That's an issue.
I think people look at it as they're looking for ways to shoot holes in people or in teams rather than build teams up. It's easier to punch holes in something. Well, they didn't do this.
Yeah. And to me, like that's an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Just for no other reason than I need consistency.
Good luck with that.
I mean, as a fan, and you're not going to get that in the NCAA, especially from the selection committee.
No.
I mean, after what Gonzaga did last night to St. Mary's, that team's still a 6th seed. They're 27-6 on the year, but they ain't played nobody, Paul. And they got destroyed by a okay Gonzaga team.
An okay Gonzaga team. I mean, if you think Gonzaga is anything other than okay, you're judging the program and not the team, and that shouldn't be the case.
And so, I mean, this is where my concern is. The Charleston situation. They're gonna win 30 games, but if they don't win the CAA, they're not in. But 18-15 Michigan, good to go.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, again, conference tournaments to me don't seem like they matter unless you win the thing. Now, if Tennessee gets to the championship, they might improve a seed line maybe, but I doubt it.
I can't even.
But they'd have to beat Alabama to get there, and that's why.
I can't even find the fire to advocate for Tennessee at this point.
It's so hard.
At one time, I was riding for Tennessee. But they've been so inconsistent down the stretch, and you don't know what you're going to get out of them from one day to the next. And Zakai Ziegler is out for the year. And I think for everything that they've done this year, if they get a 4, that's probably what they deserve.
Most people have them as a 3.
I'd be ecstatic with a 3. I don't
They
know
were
that
they're the 4th 3 seed.
No.
So they're on the edge there. And if they don't, if they win that first round against either Ole Miss or South Carolina, the next game is Alabama.
Right.
And no, the next game is Missouri. They would play Missouri. That's right.
You're right.
In the quarterfinals.
They wouldn't play Alabama until the semis.
So, you lose to Missouri and probably drop to that 4 because people don't think you can win without Zakai, which is probably an accurate thought.
Well, and you'd have 2 losses to Missouri.
Well, who is the 4 seed in the tournament, by the way? This is not a bad Missouri team.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
But at the time, Tennessee was thought to be better than that.
Especially at Thompson Bowling. You certainly don't feel like you're going to lose that game, and then they do, and that's literally what kept them. They flipped.
That's what kept them from the double bye.
So, I mean, I don't know. Is it more basketball without Zakai Ziegler? Maybe that's a good thing for Tennessee. Win some games without Zakai, and so maybe the 5 is good. You're not going to be expected to beat Alabama even if you play them.
Again, they played Alabama with Zakai,
but without
JoJo James and without Julian Phillips, and they beat them. Now theoretically, they've got both those guys, but they don't have Zakai.
And Alabama is on the downward slope. They're not bad.
They're not the same Alabama team they were 6 weeks ago.
That's
for
right.
sure.
There's no question.
But they've had a lot happen.
They have, and that's to be expected.
So,
but it's tournament time now. It's time to put up or shut up.
It is. I mean, no excuses. Seriously, and you just got to throw it out there and see what happens.
I'm gonna throw out this hot
and
take
see what
here.
happens.
I'm about to throw this out here. Hot take: Mississippi State beats Alabama in the quarterfinals.
That's a hot take. That is a hot take.
I think Mississippi State obviously is going to beat Florida. I think Mississippi State is playing really good basketball right now, outside of the loss to Vanderbilt, which again, that's not a bad loss. That's not a bad loss at this point,
especially at Memorial.
At Memorial. So I think Mississippi State is playing good basketball. Alabama is either going to run roughshod through this tournament or they're going to lose to Mississippi State. They will either win every game by double digits or lose to Mississippi State.
And either is possible.
Either is possible. I don't think anything in between is possible. I don't think they lose a close one to Missouri or Tennessee in the semis. They're going to do one or the other.
I do believe, though, that Brandon Miller is the X factor still.
Oh, sure.
I mean, if he comes out and throws in another 40 against somebody, then
SEC Player of the Year. We didn't
window.
mention that. We should.
Yes, and Freshman of the Year.
Which is they announce Player of the Year, and then they get to the Freshman of the Year, and then it's kind of like,
oh yeah,
wah, wah, wah. No kidding.
Yeah.
That guy. Really?
Well,
could have given it to Clowney and just like really screwed everything up.
No, I mean, he is a freshman.
He is a freshman, in fact.
Yeah, he's a freshman.
They were chanting at Independence, he's a baby.
Who were they talking about?
One of their freshmen that I think 10 maybe. Is he a freshman or I don't remember who it was, but whoever it was, they were, when he would do something on the court, they were chanting, he's a baby.
Oh goodness.
Which I love. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Looking forward to next week, by the way.
Yes, it's going to be a lot of fun. And in fact, radio broadcasts are always fun from TSSAA, and maybe we'll get a chance to hear our next guest on one of those broadcasts. I don't know if he's doing basketball this year. I'm not sure. He does TV. He does TV on Saturdays. That's right.
Theoretically.
Chip is typically a TV guy. So anyway, we're going to take a break because Chip Walters is standing by. He's out in Frisco, and we'll talk about whether the Conference USA tournament matters. I think this one does. So stick around. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joints. Back to the Lee Company studio right after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Lieutenant Dan.
So hopefully we're here.
I think we are.
Okay.
Back in the Lee Company studio on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. Mo Patton, Chris Yow. And joining us now is Chip Walters, coming to you from Frisco, Tejas.
Indeed. How are you guys?
Lone Star
We're don't ask us that right now, Chip. Because truthfully, we're not great.
We're struggling.
But it's hump day. We're trying to get over the hump. What's the latest out of Frisco right now? Y'all have had some games today, right?
They have started. I think the second game is just underway, but the Lady Raiders do now know who they're playing tomorrow, and that is Charlotte. Charlotte beat FIU 72-59, and so actually tomorrow you have a Middle Charlotte doubleheader, one at 11 a.m. and one at 6 p.m. But still, that's who both will end up playing.
And for the first time this year, it will be in the same location.
Exactly. But
So-
I think I do think I think the women are on court A, and I think the guys are on court B. So under the same roof may be the best way to do it.
So you will have to get up and move then, huh?
Not me.
Well, no,
Mr. Palmer will be there, but
fans
he
will have to get up and move.
That's correct, and probably go out and grab something to eat and that kind of thing. But that they're ready to go. Talked with Coach Insel and Coach McDevitt both this morning, and and I heard your tease a bit earlier, and there's a chance that it's kind of unusual that there's a men's team and a women's team that both go into this tournament ranked, which should certain things happen. And I think if you're wearing this color blue, you don't want it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it could be a two-bid league. Same on the men's side with FAU in the top 25. Should they? They've got a net ranking, like 15 or something this week, but they're sitting in pretty good shape right now, and should they get knocked off in whatever round it might be, there's a decent chance they could still get in with an at-large. That's not how the Lady Raiders are wanting to get in right now. They've put themselves in good position for sure, but they'd rather go ahead, kick the door in on Saturday, and win a championship that way as well, and make sure that they have their bid.
As I was saying to Rick Saturday after that win, that overtime win over UTEP, you don't want to put it in the committee's hand.
That's correct. You sure don't. And because we've seen it over the years on the men's side that, they're so tough on the quote unquote mid majors. They force you to be almost perfect, where they allow Power Fives to, stumble their toe here, do it again, do it a third time. They allow that to go on, but then they force the group of five conferences basically to be almost perfect to get in.
I'm not even sure it's almost, to be honest, but we're joined by the voice of the Blue Raiders, Chip Walters, here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chip, they handed out some awards. Conference USA earlier this week. Let's start with the guys, I guess. Obviously, Coach of the Year, the Gene Bartow Coach of the Year, went to Florida Atlantic. Head coach for now, Dusty May. Is he gonna be somewhere else next year, Chip?
Well, I don't know. I mean, he has certainly got his name in some conversations out there. I do know this, that he and Nick McDevitt are very close friends, and they like competing against each other. And Dusty's he's really done a heck of a job, because they're, for years and years, they've been almost, the Florida schools had almost been afterthoughts, and he's made them relevant, and they have up until they lost at UAB, they lost it before they lost at Middle. They only had two losses, and one was at Ole Miss, one was at UAB, and I think they've lost four total. But I mean, they have been playing at such a high level all season long that you really have to tip your hat to them, and Dusty does a great job. And like I mentioned, they lost at Ole Miss, but that's a place where his name has been bandied about a little bit. But the silly season will start in earnest here before too long.
Well, we're kind of thinking that the nominations have ceased at Ole Miss, and that Chris Beard is going to be the guy. But certainly his name has been mentioned over there, as you said, and he's a solid number two there. But I think if all things being equal, it's probably going to be Chris Beard. All first team Conference USA includes Chris's favorite player, Jelly Walker from UAB. T. Leonard was named to the all defensive team. Was he the only MTSU
nominee?
honoree?
I think that's correct. On the defensive team, yes.
Okay. I'm missing.
Eli Lawrence was second team all conference. And then you had T. Dish and Cam Weston were all honorable mention all league.
Okay. Awesome. As the Blue Raiders are the number 4 seed. Is that right?
Correct. Playing number 5 Charlotte, which typically that's going to should be a really good game. Two teams have split during the regular season, and so it'll be a contest tomorrow for sure.
On the women's side, Rick Insel sharing Conference USA Coach of the Year honors with the UTEP coach, whose name immediately escapes me, but all I'm looking at is MTSU being 18-2 in the conference, 25-4 overall, and the number 1 seed. UTEP being 12-8, 19-10, and interesting voting there.
Yeah. I don't have an answer for you, but
I don't know that I was asking a question. It's just making a point.
Ditto. So
yeah,
but obviously Coach Insel's earned that this year for sure with going 25-4, and you've got a quad 1 win over Louisville. So I mean, and they played a strong schedule throughout. So I mean, that's certainly an honor his team has helped him earn this year.
This is the first time he's been Conference USA Coach of the Year. Is that right? Am I reading?
I don't know. Is that what it says? Well,
it says Insel is the first coach from Middle Tennessee to be crowned Coach of the Year.
Wow. Maybe so, but
wow.
And that I think that falls back on some shaky voting in the past.
Wow. Yeah. Well, Rick is certainly familiar with that type thing over the years. He's sharing that honor with UTEP's Kevin Baker, by the way. Ksenia Malesko was named 6th Player of the Year. Savannah Wheeler and Courtney Whitson were named to the first team.
Savannah Wheeler was on the first team last year when she played at Marshall and led the conference in scoring. Pretty good pickup.
That's not a bad waiver wire pickup there for MTSU. Credit to their director of personnel there, whoever that was. Let's see. Jalen Gregory named to the second team.
Yeah, she's been kind of an unsung hero this year for that team.
Man,
and Courtney Whitson and you mentioned Courtney Whitson and Savannah Wheeler on the first team. Courtney, did that. Even she missed 4 games with an ankle injury, but she's and Coach Insel had him on my show this morning, and we were talking about how she and Alexis Whittington were like having 2 extra assistant coaches, and both of those young ladies, I could pretty much assure you, will be somewhere in the coaching profession before too awful long, because Alexis, she's done after this year. Courtney's got another year, but she's already kind of started her coaching career in the off season by having kids clinics back in her hometown of Kingsport.
That's smart. Yeah. NIL, baby.
Absolutely. The conference named an all defensive team on which Middle Tennessee State was not represented. And I'm going to read a tweet from Sam Doughton at SJ Doughton on Twitter. I have to say it's wild. The best defensive team in Conference USA, who's best by nearly 5 points a game, that's also the best defensive rebounding team in the league, and top 2 in blocks and top 3 in steals, can't get a single player on the all defensive team.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting myself, and Coach Insel kind of alluded to that kind of hacked him off a little bit. So
that's just what the rest of the league needs is a hacked off Rick Insell.
That's right, going into the conference tournament. So,
well, maybe it's because kind of like in MVP voting, sometimes you split the vote.
Split the vote.
Just too many good players, and they all split the vote.
Yeah, that could be.
That's their story, and they're sticking to it. Yeah. Oh man, it's been a heck of a year though for obviously Middle Tennessee State's women, and we talked to Jerry Palm earlier earlier this month, or maybe it was last month, I don't know, but he said that Florida Atlantic had to win the tournament, Chip, to still get in. He wasn't sure that they had enough to be an at-large bid winner.
Does a top 20 net ranking not mean anything? That again, I like Jerry Palm, but that is complete big time bias.
Well, I don't disagree.
I'm just not sure. I'm not sure what to make of the net at this point, Chip, to be honest, because I mean, for everything Vanderbilt has done, they're still 86. Upwards of 80.
Yep. And the thing is, that is the system that the NCAA has come up with.
It's brutal.
It's not a very good one. They've got to reevaluate it after this year, I think.
Just curious, what is if you, I don't know if you have it in front of you, but you said Vanderbilt's an 80 plus, and they've been obviously on a tear lately. What's their Ken Palm?
They went down, Chip, after beating Kentucky and Mississippi State. They went down so
that
they're 81st in Ken Palm.
Okay. So
yeah, Vanderbilt, Ken Palm.
I don't know, man.
I'm trying to scan quickly here.
They're 81st.
81st in Ken Palm?
Yeah. So
it's interesting how the Matrix are working on that to where they're right there in that 80-81 slot on both of those rankings.
And FAU is 28th in Ken Palm at 28-3 on the season. I mean, my question is, does it matter at this point for the conference if FAU doesn't win it and they don't get in? How big of a blow is that?
I don't know. I think it's kind of one of those things where if you're Dusty May a little bit, and just very similarly to Kermit Davis about 6 or 7 years ago, it's like you throw up your hands and say, well, what do you got to do? Right. I mean, you're allowing everybody else all this leeway, and then you force the non-power fives again to be perfect. And it's if they don't get in one way or the other for the it would be sad, because I mean they've been again, their 3 losses is Ole Miss, at Middle, at UAB, and that's it. And that's pretty strong to do that over a 5-month basketball season.
I absolutely agree with you.
Florida Atlantic is, what are they? They're 28th in Ken Palm. What are they in net?
That I couldn't tell you.
Well, I'm looking. They are 15th in net.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. They're 15. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this tournament matters a lot to everybody, because you kind of got to win it to get in, even if you are FAU. And we all know that college basketball tournaments are fickle. The best team not only doesn't always, but rarely wins the tournament.
That's and that's a whole big philosophical discussion for another time. But I'm one of those that's of the opinion that if you're in a quote unquote one bid league, are you better off
not playing the tournament?
Not playing your tournament and having the team that's been good for 3 months go instead of one that's been good for 3 days.
Well, and so
it's a heck of a question.
And that's what I posed, and you responded to it on Twitter, but it's the only time that most of these conferences get any type of national television is their championship game. So they have to play it in order to get any kind of opportunity to be on national television.
If that's important.
Well, in the world of, I guess recruiting.
I mean, I think you have to decide if being on national television is important enough to perhaps sacrifice your best team.
Or put your best team on True TV at 11 a.m. on Tuesday. I guess that's your other option, right?
I wonder if another option is something that we're seeing out of some conferences, and we talked about this last week, the ladder type brackets and that kind of thing, where you really incentivize that regular season championship by them only having to play 1 or 2 games instead of 3 or 4. I know you've got the double bye and that kind of thing in a lot of conferences, but you could even lessen their exposure a little bit more, maybe.
What is the is it the WAC this year that's going to they're seeding their tournament by net ranking instead of by record?
Oh,
yeah, it's somebody where is Utah Valley?
That's the WAC.
Okay, that's the WAC, because Utah Valley won the regular season, but Stephen F. Austin or Sam Houston, one of the two, is going to be the number 1 seed because they're seeding the tournament by net ranking, which is interesting.
I think if I won the regular season, I'm going to be a little hacked, to use somebody's word over that. Yeah. Utah Valley has the best record, but Sam Houston is the top seed thanks to an innovative seeding structure. And I guess everybody had to agree to it, but still.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is
under duress, I would imagine, would have been the phrase for some folks.
That is some wild, wacky stuff.
It is.
So
on Wild and Wacky Wednesday.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, well, Chip, has the curtain made his entrance yet?
The curtain is there. I haven't. I was thinking about it this morning and haven't gone to see how active the CUSA curtain is on Twitter, since it does have its own Twitter handle.
Well, if there's more than one, that'd be great, because CUSA curtain hasn't tweeted since 18.
Well, there is another one. Maybe
there's a new one.
Is it? It may be the CUSA curtain. I'm not sure, but there's one that's been a little more active lately.
CSU _curtain. That's it.
CUSA _ curtain.
That's it.
There we go. That's awesome.
The best rivalry in Conference USA right now is Western Kentucky versus Expectations. That'll get some middle retweets. So there you go.
No question.
If you're talking about the Ford Center, you need to go check out the Bowling Green newspaper and Rick Stansberry's comments about holding the tournament in this building. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Is he going to be back?
That's a really good question. And I happened to talk to him when both Middle and Western were coming back from from Florida. They were on the same plane. We were on the same flight, and he was sitting right across the aisle from me, and that was his first weekend back after the illness that he had, and he's feeling, from what I understand, he's feeling a lot better and ready to go. But that's a seat that's been a little warm apparently.
Yeah. That's interesting. Apparently, whoever was in charge of booking flights was not aware of 100 miles of hate, huh, Chip?
One time several years ago during the Sun Belt days, there was a year where when you played true double headers, that Middle's men and women and Western's men and women were all on the same plane.
That's a recipe for something.
Especially in Sun Belt days, because it was it might have been a little bit more heated back then.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I mean, the thing was, it was like an early Sunday morning flight, and the kids were all wanting to sleep, so there was nothing there.
But thank goodness.
Yeah,
timing is everything.
It is.
Voice of the Blue Raiders, Chip Walters, joining us from Frisco, Texas, here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chip,
hey,
as
couple of quick.
Oh, come on.
You got a couple quick things. Number one, baseball, 6-6 there at home against Evansville this weekend. Softball, off to the best start in school history. They're 14-3, 14-5, but they host games all weekend in their first opportunity for fans to have a look at it. They are scoring a ton of runs, and they're at home all weekend. It starts on Friday. I think they've got Southern Illinois will be the first game in their invitational this weekend. So Jeff Breeden's team is playing really well, and it's, hopefully there's good weather for both of the Diamond sports that'll both be on campus this weekend.
Sounds good. We appreciate you.
Thank you, boys.
All righty.
All right, it's time for the weirdest and wildest news from across the world.
And Florida. But we start way across the world in Thailand, thanks to Maurice Patton. So go ahead and tell us what's happening in this clip here. That's amazing. I wish I could see it, but I just got logged out of StreamYard. No, in Thailand, elephants stand along the side of the road waiting for sugarcane trucks to come by. Step out in front of these trucks and grab a big mouthful of sugarcane before they can pass by.
And that, in effect, makes it
a toll road.
It's 100% a toll road.
You got to pay the toll with that sugarcane.
Pay the toll.
That was crazy.
That is impressive. I mean, there's even a sign that says like elephant crossing.
Beware elephant crossing. Yeah.
No, they're not crossing. They're stopping.
Yeah. They're not continuing across. They're coming out in front of these trucks specifically.
Yes. No, they know what's coming.
It's like, the sugarcane truck is coming. Let me get on up here.
Let's go ahead and get ready.
It's amazing. That was funny.
Oh, man. All right. We go now to a Houston cafe where a couple of guys, kind of like us, recording a podcast, but they're doing it in alongside an area where traffic is a thing. And a car crashed into the window right behind them as they are recording the podcast.
Oh, goodness.
Now, this will definitely be the best thing that ever happened to their podcast.
Probably got a couple clicks out of that.
Seconds before a Chevy Tahoe plowed into the Tout Sweet Cafe, podcaster Nathan Reeves said, quote, "It got so quiet in here." And then, boom. No one was hurt, so that was good. Yeah, the SUV crashed into the Houston cafe, sending shattering glass toward him and the guest he was interviewing on video. So apparently they were like us on StreamYard or something. And that's nuts, man.
Wow. Oh,
can you imagine? You're just sitting there
minding your own business.
Minding your own business, enjoying your podcast, and next thing you know, boom, out of nowhere. I've told you about the time my mom was in the restaurant in Jasper, and a car came in. They were the only people in the restaurant, and a car drove through the restaurant, and they were just sitting at the table. Same thing. So it was crazy. But anyway, that's Wild and Wacky Wednesday. We are coming back at 2:00 tomorrow, but we will be live
from the Glass House.
From the Glass House, Murphy Center.
Hopefully no cars are up on the concourse.
Hopefully no cars on the concourse. So come back. We'll be there in the mobile Lee Company studio. This has been Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll see you then.